Welcome back to another episode of the Modern Multifamily Podcast. I'm your host, Mike Wilbur, and I'm super excited to be bringing the podcast back. And this first episode is incredible. I was super lucky to have Kevin Owens and Joya Pavesi from RKW Residential on the podcast. This company is moving and shaking, and man, we totally got into it today. Super fun conversation. They were total joys to get to know. We talked through a ton in about a 35-minute conversation. This company is in hyper growth mode right now. We talk through the new partnership with Quarterra. We talk about what it's been like to align with Alfred. It's been really fun and fascinating to hear about their approach to leadership, talent, culture, and a resident focus that really bleeds through the entire organization. We hit on a ton of different things. It was a fun, fast-paced conversation. And candidly, it was super fun to be back, especially with these two. Hope you enjoyed this great conversation with Joya and Kevin. Thank you both for joining me, and I hope you guys enjoyed this phenomenal conversation.
Thank you for having us.
Happy to be here. Thanks for having us.
I'd love to just sort of set the table today on who you are and the big roles you both play at RKW. Joya, why don't we start with you, and then we'll roll right into Kevin.
Sure, absolutely. At RKW, my role is president of Brand and Strategic Services. I oversee the marketing and growth engines of the organization and have been with RKW for, almost 10 years. Been in multifamily marketing for over 20 years.
It's amazing. What about you, Kevin?
I am the president of property management at RKW. I have the great joy of partnering with Joya to lead the organization. I've been there a little less time than Joya has, about 10 months versus 10 years. But it's been a fantastic ride. She's fantastic to work with. I have the pleasure of leading our ops and anything that supports ops teams. I support that group, and we are excited to work together and to plan on a really big future.
I have to assume that when you combine 10 plus years and 10 months, you get some pretty neat perspectives in terms of disagreeing, committing. Is that an advantage to the two of you as peers to kind of be able to bring in different perspectives, both with tenure and perspective from in and outside the organization?
I always find it an advantage to work with smart people. And certainly Joy's experience at RKW has been a big part of that. My transition in was made a lot easier because she was there helping me through that process. Her knowledge of what's worked so well at RKW over the years has been very helpful, and her feedback about things that hasn't worked well has also been helpful. So to me, and I'm going to speak, spoke first because I want to make sure that the good stuff was said before she said what it was like working with me. But it's been a fantastic ride, and it's been helped along the way because of her partnership.
Yeah, thank you, Kevin. I personally love healthy debate. I think it's important to question and challenge. And having been with the organization as long as I have been, and really almost since the company started, I have good historical perspective, and this is how we do things. But I think what's been so great about having Kevin join is seeing everything with a fresh new lens and challenging, why do we do it that way? And is there a different or better way to do it? So I think it was perfect timing in terms of Kevin joining the organization, and he's added a tremendous amount of value in just giving everybody a completely different way to look at our processes.
It's awesome. Well, hey, I'd love to kind of shift into business. Outside looking in, RKW is doing something pretty special. And I do not know this organization well, but I feel like I turn LinkedIn on and I see something great about residents. I see a big speech or a talk coming up. I see a asset takeover. I see you entering new markets. It really feels like you're playing offense when a lot of companies in our space are playing defense, just with like the way that the market is being so up and down right now. I'd love to hear some of the goodness that's happening at RKW. I have to think there's some special things that the two of you are working on.
It is fantastic time to be at RKW. We are absolutely playing offense. That's on purpose. It's intentional for us to do that. The last few years, even before I joined, the focus has been on investing in our people, in the processes that work well in the platform, so that we could scale, grow the platform without compromising service to residents, clients, et cetera. And what you're seeing is, yes, new markets, new talent, new wins, and new visibility, because we've built a foundation that is engineered to move faster and perform better and smarter. There's no doubt about that. Georgia, Carolinas, Florida. We continue to grow with the right mechanisms in place, with the right partners, with the right owners and clients who share our values and believe in our experience to bring results that matter to them, which is important to us. And yeah, we've expanded in Tennessee and Arkansas and Alabama, but that's been organic growth that's worked really well for us. We're really excited that beginning this month, actually last Friday, a deal closed where we've officially closed on the merger with Quarterra, which is a very large owner operator, and we'll be merging their management platform with ours, and we'll be excited to oversee and manage and lead 52,000 units, giving us a national presence in many, many states, coast to coast, and look forward to continue the process that we put in place at our organization, merging it with wonderful processes on their side to make this a well-run organization that is right there for the clients.
Yeah, I think Kevin captured it perfectly. A lot of our growth has really been it's been derived as organic growth, and it's because of the relationships that we've established with our current clients. We've always been strong in the Carolinas. We've always been strong in Florida because that's where our roots are. That's where the organization was established. But we've just continued to grow relationships with existing clients that have taken us to new markets. And now being national, we're really excited to see how we can expand that footprint in new markets that we've never been in before. As a third-party operator, we're constantly focusing on the time and attention that our teams can give to our clients. That's really important, and I think that's one of the main mechanisms for success, especially for RKW in the very early days. It was a true focus on time and attention for the assets and for our book of business. And so Kevin and I spend a lot of time looking at our team loads, looking at how much they're traveling, looking at the attention that lease up assets need. We do a lot of lease ups. We're always making sure that we can strike balance in terms of how our teams are spread out across the portfolio so we can continue to give that level of service and attention that I think really was the catalyst for us growing quickly and achieving the reputation that we have in the Southeast so far.
Well, first of all, I just want to say congratulations. I did not know that was going to be the big news today. That's a big dang deal. Congrats.
Thank you very much. It really is. We're excited.
As you think about kind of happenings in the industry right now, you're seeing quite a bit of smart consolidation. You're seeing different roll-ups happening. You're seeing unique partnerships come about. RKW has a brand that firmly stands on its own from my perspective, and I think of Quarterra as being another pretty big brand in the industry. Does this present an opportunity, Joya, for you to rethink the brand experience, or is this an opportunity just to double down on RKW as you move from big regionally to now a national presence?
That's a really great question. I think what we want to do is make sure that we stay true to the things that each organization, inclusive of Alfred, is really great at. So Alfred is a tech-forward company, bring a lot of experience in the tech space. RKW, I would say our strength is rooted in our customer service and our excellence for resident experience. And Quarterra has operational excellence and scale. So we want to bring all of those elements together, and we are going to be unveiling a new brand. Now that the merger has happened, we're going to be working on it, and it's going to align with some platform announcements and changes that we've been building behind the scenes for quite some time. Now that we have Quarterra under our umbrella, we're going to have a lot more data, a lot more markets and insight to be able to inform the changes we're making and building within this platform. And so stay tuned, Mike. You might want to have us back on. We're going to be unveiling a lot of really exciting things over the next 6 to 12 months.
I am already chomping at the bit, and I will be patient. Kevin, kind of follow-on question on that same thread. I mean, I've never been in your shoes, like operating properties and then being at a senior level on the operations side of our industry, but you take a team from being dominant regionally to now national footprint. Does this open up new strategies? Does this open up new leadership philosophies? Like, what does this mean to go from thinking about these states to this entire country in terms of being an opportunity for your big business?
That's a really good question, Mike. So the answer is yes, it does bring about some changes. And One of the things that we believe is that the integration of these three organizations is one that is based on shared values, shared commitments. We believe it's going to be a fantastic fit together. And the reality is that, Quarterra already has a national presence. They're in states coast to coast. And while RKW has had a more, southeast focused presence, we have been growing westward and northward as well organically. And so have begun the process of thinking through how the strategy might change as we go national. And so part of the process we've been undergoing over the last few months as we've been working through this and thinking through this is working on our strategy for growth and how we're going to tackle that opportunity to provide more and better service to more clients coast to coast. And so, yes, there will be changes. Yes, it's a different world to lead, manage, and oversee clients, properties, teams in states from the West Coast to the East Coast versus just the Southeast. But this team is built for that. We've got leaders with fantastic experience in every organization. They're bringing it together, and we're going to be collaborating really well over the next couple of months to put that plan together fully and to take off with jet-like propulsion. So we're really excited about it.
I love it. Well, hey, I want to ask a question just around like growth for the business. Obviously, you're now stepping into like astronomical growth through this new partnership. But, I've heard you talk about a few states that you're entering that you've been excited about. I was going back to as far back as 2024, reading about BTR as a new focus for the business, which is a much different operating model. It's a much different marketing and branding model. As you think about the future of RKW and the new brand that you're embarking on, are there any specific markets or segments that you remain excited or focused on?
Just to touch on BTR specifically, we've actually been in the BTR space since 2018 when it wasn't even BTR. Nobody knew what it was at the time. We had a client relationship that brought us on for a deal in Florida, and we learned a lot of lessons, to be honest with you. I think you highlighted some of the unique nuance of this asset class, and we had a lot of lessons that we learned along the way. Some were some were easy, some were obvious, like you need to sell the value of a detached home with privacy and its own yard. And then some things were lessons that we had to learn just from the experience of going through it. In the very early days, we were leaning into our multi experience and how we were writing budgets or how we were forecasting for absorption. That's very different in the BTR space, but we have some really smart operators and analysts, and they quickly in real time were able to tell us what's going on, what the differences were, so we could pivot and make strategic changes. I think that allowed us to really grow our BTR platform in the early years. And then that's how we were able to kind of gain a name for knowing, having a BTR playbook, essentially.
Yeah, I think Joya's spot on here. The experience that RKW has had over the last several years, it's funny, back in 2018, 2019, I had a couple of clients with deals that were similar to what we call BTR today. To Joya's point, it wasn't known as BTR. And when I joined 10 months ago, to see the playbook that RKW had created and were using to manage, grow, and be successful in that space was pretty impressive. And I'm excited about our opportunities there. But, to speak more along the lines of your specific question, we're certainly focused on segments that are inclusive of the need for great service, speed, experience. Build to rent is one of those. It's a new segment, newer segment in our industry. And we believe that our attention to detail and our ability to adapt, as well as our experience, makes us great partners in that space. We're certainly also very dialed into, urban mixed use, to high rise, to luxury, to value add. We have expertise in all those segments. And so with this merger now being public and with our opportunities to really scale and put a unified platform together, RKW is kind of service first execution. Quarterra's national scale, which is going to help us grow much more quickly. And then, the Alfred tech and intelligence is all something that's going to come together to make us, I think, first-class operators in this space and an operator that clients are going to want to talk to when they've got any of those types of assets coming out of the ground or if they need to do management, or if they're acquiring, they're going to want to talk to us for sure.
Let's double click on that thread really quick, if you both don't mind. About 3 years ago, you all broke the internet when you announced that you'd been acquired by Alfred. You at least broke my internet. I mean, I'm a technology nut. Been fortunate to be operating now for about 11 years in our space, and that just like was not on my bingo card. Like, you see Alfred, this like kind of mythical business in New York City, acquiring this big, beautiful brand. It's like, what is this going to mean? You're a little over 3 years into it. Like, what's that looked like? Joya, you've mentioned it already. You've now mentioned synergy here, Kevin. I'd love to hear, like, what does that look like? The operation synergy, the benefit, maybe some of the challenges. I really want to understand what that dynamic looks like.
Yeah, I would say the acquisition was a catalyst for something more than just adding on Alfred Tech to our tech stack. It was sort of a complete re-engineering of how we look at our business and how we approach property management. It's been really good to have a team of technologists who have a completely different viewpoint of the industry, look under the hood. And I think there have been learnings on both sides. So that's been really collaborative and exciting to see. We've been, as I shared earlier, we've kind of been developing behind the scenes a new operating platform that combines Alfred's tech, their AI intelligence, and then leveraging RKW's operational experience and expertise to design around the needs of the on-site team. I think a lot of tech, especially AI, has been real focused on where there is engagement or touch points with the prospect, upfront leasing, or even resident management. And what we're doing is looking at the entire ecosystem, and specifically what the day-to-day operations look like for our on-site team. How can we reduce mundane tasks, take things off of their plate, make it faster and easier for them to operate? And so I think really looking at tech and how the entire ecosystem of property management works has been a goal since the start of the acquisition.
Yeah, Joya's been involved with the Alfred team longer than I have. I can tell you that since I've joined, one of the things that I've learned very quickly, and I think is a very different approach than what many organizations take, is the technology is not just meant to be another tech implementation on the already in place tech stack, the legacy stack or system that's in place. It's not that. The intention is that we're building a platform on purpose that's designed from the bottom, from the ground up, from the foundation, to simplify operations, to make it easier for our operators to do their jobs, and to elevate both the resident experience as well as our team's experience. We certainly understand and believe our tech is incredibly useful and incredibly important to our success. We also know that we don't do this without people. And our goal and job is to make the lives and roles that our people play in our business easier, simpler, and able to focus more on the resident experience. And I think that's something we're doing very well already, and something we'll continue to do very well into the future.
I'm just envisioning what it's like to be in the war room as you're talking to a future client or a current client. There must be so many value propositions you're able to come up with that are strategic and unique. It's just really cool to hear that. Thanks for sharing. Joya, I have a question for you. And a couple of weeks back, you shared, I don't want to like butcher the stat, but I think it was that you wrapped up Resident Appreciation Week and you'd served more than 10,000 scoops from a company called Jenny's Splendid Ice Cream as part of your Resident Appreciation Week. And I thought the touch, the personalization, the connection with the brand was just so smart and so much better than National Pizza Day, which we still see a lot of in our industry. And I'm just curious, like, that's a big initiative at your scale. How did that come about?
Well, Resident Appreciation Week has been a hallmark of RKW for 10 years. It's really one of my favorite traditions that we have at the organization. And I think it speaks to, from the very beginning, what we set out to be, which was a company that was rooted in hospitality with a focus on reputation and trying to do things that were unique and different from a resident experience standpoint. When Alfred acquired us, their original business model was designed around resident services. So there was a lot of alignment when it came to how we envisioned what a differentiated and elevated resident experience looks like. Obviously, their business model evolved, but we were able to still build off of what they had already developed in terms of a strong affiliate marketing program. And so that has allowed us to activate unique partnerships with brands that have national scale or national appeal, but actually deliver them to our residents in a way that feels a little bit more individual to the resident and or the community. We've had a lot of fun over the years and had a number of campaigns, and Jenny's just aligned perfectly with our theme of staycation this year. We like to theme all of our resident appreciation events each year, and this year was staycation. And Jenny's was just, it was a great brand for us to be able to partner with. But we've had a lot of brands that we've partnered with since the Alfred acquisition that have been really exciting. Last year, we partnered with Rent the Runway, and we were able to give all of our residents a free month subscription to designer clothing rental. No strings attached. That was really fun. We've done some cool things with San Pellegrino and Nestle. But we also make sure that we focus on having a hyper local approach too. So even though these big brands are splashy and a lot of people recognize their names, we also do unique things with brands that are local to the neighborhoods where our communities are.
It's cool hearing you talk about the scale of that. And it's also smart. And I'm sure you think about it this way. But for me, I think oftentimes about the flywheel effect in business and how something like that impacts your ability to recruit top talent. It increased, it's more than just the resident impact that impacts RKW. So I think that's like a really smart way to think about it. But it's also cool because that's different. Not that many companies in our space think through kind of reimagining that. And even the theme, I've never heard of a themed resident appreciation week before. That's so cool.
No,
I
thank you
think
very
that's
much.
Yeah, I think that's indicative of Joy's creativity and her team's creativity, number one. But number two, it's you mentioned the pizza party kind of thing. It's more to us than just an event or an activity. It's really creating experiential moments that are there to serve as delightful experiences for residents, to build loyalty, to build connection. So it goes beyond the traditional. We've got to check the box of having an activity this month. It's really intended to create a brand awareness for us and for our teams that makes it more likely for residents to renew, for new residents to lease, and for our clients to be successful.
Kevin, I'm glad you ended on that point because as you were talking about it, I was thinking it is also about driving results. I mean, at the end of the day, we are a business and we do have a responsibility to our clients. And so we know that when we put on these unique brand partnerships or host these experiential events, that we need to measure the success of them. It's nice to do it because it's nice to do it, but what impact does it really have? So we always end these events looking at how did we drive engagement and participation within Alfred AOS around the events that we're hosting? And then what impact did it have on online sentiment? We know that online reviews help drive greater lead generation for our assets. And then to Kevin's point, increased resident retention.
And I think, adding one more thing onto that, Mike mentioned earlier, you said it impacts our ability to recruit and to find great talent. And I think that does that very thing. When people that are working in other segments of our industry look at what we're doing in RKW, it is not unusual for us to have people reaching out to us for roles rather than us always having to recruit heavily to find talent. And so those kinds of opportunities are fantastic too. We're a people-focused organization that starts with our team. And so we want to make sure that the environment within which our team works is fantastic and is enjoyable and is fun. It's work, of course, but we want it to be enjoyable and we want them to enjoy coming to work. And I think things like this that we do to enhance that experience is beneficial on that side as well.
It reminds me of my very first episode in January of 2021 that I hosted on this podcast. And Kainoa Clark is the chief marketing officer of a cool company in Utah called the Wasatch Group. And he said, experience creates belief and belief influences action. And that's his belief as a marketer, is making sure that, to your point, Joya, you're tying it to business impact. And to your point, Kevin, that you're thinking through the experiential impact that it's going to have on a resident, a consumer, an employee, or a prospective employee. So I just think it's smart. And I'd love to kind of follow through on this thread of kind of some of the things I see RKW doing that are different and unique. Every time I look at your corporate LinkedIn page. I feel like you're blasting a new strategic hire. You're promoting something great that your team or an employee is doing. You're announcing that Kevin's going to be on stage, even though it's the 3:30 slot next week in NAA, talking through centralization. Yeah, and I will be there. I will be there.
Whoa.
So, like, I think of an engaged team being a superpower. It's just a superpower in business. People is how you win. Has that always been a top focus? I just feel like you do such a great job of celebrating your team in public. And I just want to hear if that's like a philosophy or if that's just happenstance. That to me is so wildly unique.
Kevin, do you want to take that?
Yeah, I'll start. It is absolutely intentional. We are a believer in people. We celebrate our team members. We understand that this can't happen without them. When we had the good fortune, Joy and I, of announcing this to our team, this merger to our teams, we made it a point to make sure they understood that whatever work happened behind the scenes, whatever the deal was, whatever it looks like, it would not have happened without them because of their commitment to excellence, their commitment to serving our residents, their commitment to serving our clients, their commitment to serving each other, their commitment to our internal belief that we intend to be the best in the business. And I think that is what leads to growth. That is what leads to more and more people on the ownership side, the client side, recognizing what we're doing in the space. It's about the people every single day. And I love the technology we have. I love what Alfred's contributions have been. And Alfred understands, RKW understands, Quarterra understands. We understand together that none of it matters if our people aren't the best in the business. And so that is an intentional effort on our part to ensure that the talent that we have working for us now loves working for us. Our ENPS is a metric that we measure all the time. We have goals set on it. We follow it. We want to grow it. It's really good right now, but we want it to get better. And we want raving fans. We want people who work for us to shout from the mountaintops they work for us. And we believe as leaders, we have a role to play in that. If we're not doing our part, then it's not going to work. And so it has to be intentional. It is intentional. And it's showing results.
One area that is a point of pride for me is the amount of B-backs that we have at RKW. When Kevin first joined the organization, we went on a whirlwind of asset tours. And everywhere we went, it was almost every single community had an associate, whether it was a manager, leasing, maintenance, we had B-backs. And I think that just proves that we're really focused on an experience, not on experiences, not only for our residents, but also for our on-site associates. To Kevin's point, we are really focused on ENPS, and we're also focused on regrettable churn and trying to make sure that we don't lose great talent. So it's a focus for all of the executive team.
That's a great point, Joy. And one more thing, Mike started to jump
please.
in. Joy is bringing back memories for me when I first joined. It literally was every asset, every property we visited. There was either I've been here 6 years, 7 years, or it was, well, I left because somebody offered me this great deal, but in 6 months I realized it's never going to be better than RKW, so I came back. And so to hear that kind of story multiple times, I mean, this is 10, 20, 30 visits in a row. It happened. It told me that what I believed to be true coming into the role was true, that RKW, the reputation that RKW has as a people-focused, people-centric organization that really aligns itself with performance metrics, with deliverables, with results for sure, but does it in such a way that gives our teams an opportunity to grow, to be who they are, and to succeed in their own careers is just a wonderful place to be, and it proves out.
I love it. Well, hey, I want to kind of prepare to wind down, and I want to end with some advice and then just a couple lighthearted questions. And I'll start with advice. Hate it or love it, the two of you are big names in this industry. People look up to you. And I think there's always imposter syndrome, no matter where you're at in your career. But I certainly see the two of you as being big time leaders, big time operators in our space. I know a lot of people that in 4 to 6 or 7 years, they want to be in a chair like yours today. And I'd love to hear just like one piece of advice you'd give to that aspirational leader that wants to be in a bigger chair down the road. What would that one piece of advice be to someone listening today? Joya, why don't we start with you?
Sure. I learned this very early in my career at the first company in multifamily that I worked with, and that is the power of shared experiences. So my advice would be make sure that you have visibility, participate, raise your hand, volunteer, go to that event. The more opportunity that you execute on to put yourself in the same room as leaders will benefit you in the long run. You really need to focus on not just having somebody as a mentor, but as a sponsor, somebody who is going to help you grow your career and continue to climb the ladder.
Oh,
I
I
love it.
love that. Yeah, love that. I think that's a great question, Mike. And I've been given a lot of advice in my career. I try to offer feedback when people ask. If I had to land on one thing I would tell aspiring leaders, it would be this: ask the question. The reality is we don't know everything. I don't care how long you've been doing this. I don't care how smart you are. I don't care how well known you are. You don't know everything, and I don't know everything. So if I'm a leader who is at a certain level in my career and I want to go up the career ladder, so to speak, ask the question. And when you don't know something, don't be afraid to ask. Don't worry about looking like you don't know what you're doing. Ask the question, because that's the only way you're going to learn. I heard someone say one time that, wise people learn from their mistakes. Wiser people learn from other people's mistakes. And so if you're asking those questions and learning from others' experiences and others' failures, others' stub toes, then you're going to advance much more quickly than you just try to do yourself.
Those are both really, really like actionable pieces of advice. Thanks for sharing. We're going to end with a couple more lighthearted ones. I believe deeply that the highest performers are learn-it-alls. They are not know-it-alls. And I would love to start with the question, which is, what is a book or a podcast that has recently had an impact on you personally? Kevin, why don't we start with you?
Yeah, so there's a lot. If I could turn the camera around, you'd see the library. But one I read recently that really impacted me was called The Motive by Patrick Lencioni. If you know Lencioni, he's an author that shares messages and truths in fable format. And so basically it's a story about a situation. And in this case, it is a story of a conversation between two CEOs, one struggling and one is offering very tough, hard to hear advice. And it's about the motivations that leaders use to do what they do, the decisions they make, the way they treat people, the way they interact with customers and clients. And so it just reminded me how important, the start with why concept with Simon Sinek is grounded in me for a long time. And this book reminded me the importance of explaining and helping your teams understand why you do what you do. And if you can keep that in mind, I think you'll be a better leader.
I think Lencioni is like far and away one of the most referenceable authors out there. My favorite two from him is Disagree and Commit, that comes from The Advantage, and then The First Team Mentality, that comes from The Attributes of a Highly Functioning Executive Team. I could have an entire riff session on Lencioni. I think that's a really great one, Kevin. Thank you. Joy, what about you?
So, first of all, Start With Why is the book that is currently on my bedside table. Shout out to Justin Jones in the industry who gave it to me at a conference. That's a great book. But unpopular opinion, I enjoy reading, but don't enjoy reading business books. And so I do recognize the importance of continuous learning and curiosity. So I actually use an app called Smarty Me, which kind of gives you bite-sized 15-minute learning opportunities. And you can pick whatever topics you want, whether it's leadership, communication style, business. I mean, there's history, there's finance, personal budgeting, et cetera. You can customize the app to whatever you're most interested in. And it gives you, bite-sized 15-minute articles to read on a specific topic, and it gamifies it. So for me, I recognized early on that I don't love to read business books. When I read a book, I want to be taken to a different land and a fantasy and kind of escape the everyday. So I use Smarty Me to keep up with things, and I do listen to a lot of podcasts. So.
Let's follow this thread of unpopular opinions. I buy books, I don't finish them, and I read the summaries on Blinkist. It's fine. No one needs to know. I mean, they all know now, but like, hey, we're here.
Yes, you just outed yourself, but that's okay. That's okay. That's okay.
I love that. Well, hey, let's end inspired by a very silly LinkedIn post I did, and Kevin actually engaged with it. How do you take your coffee? Why don't we start with you, Joya, then we'll close with you, Kevin.
So my husband and I have a very almost like a coffee ritual every morning. And to answer your question, I take my coffee with Natural Bliss Italian sweet cream creamer. Very specific. My family knows when I travel that I expect them to have that stocked in their home when I'm there visiting them. But my husband and I sit together every morning. We don't speak. We sit side by side. Sometimes we listen to, positive affirmation, morning meditation, and we drink our coffee together.
Love it.
I don't know that my story is as good, but I'll tell you, I have a little coffee with my cream and sugar is really how I take it. I started drinking coffee when I was 8 years old with my grandfather. When I would visit his house in the summertime, he was an early riser. I was an early riser. I still am. And every morning at about 6:30, he and I would sit at the kitchen table with his cup of instant Sanka coffee. Yeah, instant. And so that's how I got my start, with instant Sanka coffee. It was about a 6-ounce China cup, and there were at least 3 tablespoons of sugar, and the cream that made the coffee off-white. I mean, that much cream. So that's how I started drinking it. Now, I'm a health nut a bit, so I've pared down the sugar. I now use artificial sweetener. I don't use sugar. I've also reduced the amount of creamer, but I am today sold on Coffee Mate's Snickers flavored cream. And
I would have
2
never.
packs of Splenda, and it's amazing. It is amazing.
If this was like if you had to choose an answer and that was the answer for Kevin, I would have said no way. He is absolutely a health nut. And when he says he's an early riser, he's like a 4 a.m. at the gym by 4:45 riser. So Kevin shot.
We believe in balance, right?
That's right. That's right. It's all in balance.
Well, hey, I just want to say thank you both for being such fun guests today. I heard a lot of great things from both of you about service, speed, humility, creativity, impact, experience, and I am cheering big for RKW. Thank you both for joining, and I hope, Joya, when it's time, we could do a round 2 on kind of the future of the brand. But I'm going to wish you both nothing but success, and thank you again for joining us today on Modern Multifamily.
Thanks, Mike.